In this video, we're going to go through on Catholic High School Primary 5 Mathematics 2024 weighted assessment 3. So let's get started on the first question. Question 1. The number line below is marked at equal intervals. What is the value represented by A? So before we know what is A, we want to count how many gaps are in between one decimal number to another decimal number. So in this case, if you were to, zoom it in, right? Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to count the number of gaps. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so from 5.9 to 6.0, what is the difference? Okay, so the difference between these two numbers is not 1, but 0.1. Okay, so in a way, to make it a little bit easier for us, right, it's actually 0.10. Okay, why we want to put a two decimal place is mainly because since we have, in a way, this one, right, 5 gaps, right, we have 5 gaps, right, 5 gaps, right, and the difference between two numbers is 0.10, then that means, right, 5 gaps is equal to 0.1. It's a little bit harder for us to divide by 5 because one, in essence, you probably have to add a 0 when you want to do division, right? So then with one gap, we have 0.10. Oops. And then we divide it, okay? Divide, right, by 5. And this gives us 0. If you say 2 is wrong, it's 0.2, right? Common mistake. Don't put 0.2, is 0.02. Okay, so now we know that one gap is 0.02. Now we just need to find how many gaps are there from, in this case, 6.0 to A, right? So let's count the number of gaps, right? So we have 1, okay, 2, and 3. So between 6.0 to A, in this case is, right, 3 gaps, right? I'm just going to put 3G. 3G or small, I'm going to put here G is gaps, right? So 3G, so that means 6.0. So 3 gaps is equal to 0.02 times 3. This will give us 0.06, right? So that means 6.06. So A, in essence, right, okay, is equal to 6.0 plus 0.06, which is equal to 6, not 9, 6.06. And in this case over here, the answer to this is 4, 6.06. Okay, that's the answer. Let's get it. All right, let's move on to the next question. Question 2, right? So question 2 says there were 900 pupils in the hall, right? 60% of the pupils were boys and the rest were girls. How many girls were there in the hall? Okay, so we just want to summarize as much as possible. So total is 900 pupils, right? 900 lah, yes, right, 900. Okay. Okay, so the percentage of boys is equal to 60%, and the percentage of girls, okay, is 100 minus 60, and it gives us 40%, right? So now we know that the percentage of girls, basically 100 means the total percentage minus 60, which is the boys, it gives us 40%. Right, how many girls were there in the hall? So what we want to do is we need to multiply, right, the percentage. So it's 900 times 40%. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to, let me just put it like this so it's easier, right? So 900, so 40%, we need to put it as a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to put 40 out of 100 as such. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cancel things out, right? So 40 out of 100 is basically just cancel this, is 4 out of 10, right? That's the easiest way to, do this, right? And then after that, we also want to cancel out another one, right? Which is the 10 here with the, so I'm going to put this red, the 10 here with the 0 at the end here. So essentially, this will be giving us equal to 90 times 4, which is 9 times 4 is 36. We have a 0 at the end, 0. Okay, so 9 times 4. So the answer is 360, which means the answer is, oops, option number 2. Okay, so that means we write here 2. There we go. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Question 3. So the average 6 numbers is 42. The sum of the first 5 numbers is 215. What is the sixth number? Okay, so this is average. So what we need to do is we want to get the total. So first we say average 6 numbers, right, is equal to 42. So we want to get the total, right, which is equal to 42 times 6. Okay, so we want to do some what do you call this, multiplication. Let's do the workings. All right, so it's 42 times 6. Let me double check also. Average of 6 numbers. Okay, great. So 42 times 6. Let's zoom this in. So what is 2 times 6? 2 times 6 is 12. And then we're going to put a 1 here, right, at the top over here. Make it a little bit smaller. All right, so 2 times 6 is 12. 4 times 6 is 24 plus 1. This will be 25. So 252. So the total over here is 252. Okay, let me zoom this out. So the sum of the first 5 numbers is 215. Okay, so that means the sixth number, right, is equal to 252 minus, oops, minus 215. Okay, so 252 minus 215. So let's do the workings as well. All right, so 252 minus 215. Okay, so let's zoom this in. All right, so in this case over here, what we're going to do is 2 minus 5, you cannot, so you have 12 minus 5. That means we need to cancel 5 to become number 4 instead, right? So 4. Okay, so 12 minus 5, this will give us 7, right? And then 4 minus 1 will give us 3. And then 2 minus 2 is 0. So the answer to this minus is 37. So that means the sixth number is 37 in this case over here, right? Where is 37? Is option number 1. And that is the correct answer over here, right? So there you go. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 4. Right, so the table shows the bulk post charges between two countries. Okay, so we have mass step not over 3 kg, 5 kg, and per additional step of 1 kg or part thereof. So you have $14, $26, and $8, right? Respectively. So is the bulk post charge for sending a package that weighs 7.3 kg. All right, so I'm gonna share with you what this, mass step not over 3 kg, 5 kg means, right? So this means that, okay, bracket, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller, right? If post is 3 kg or less, then this is $14. Okay, so if post is for 5 kg, it's a bit different. 5 kg or less, but more than 3 kg, right? Then it's $26, right? So per additional step of 1 kg or part thereof, it will be an additional $8 as well, right? So now we want to see how much is 7.3 kg, right? So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to find what is the post initial, I would say, weight. Okay, so it's actually more than 5 kg, right? So if I were to like draw a rectangle, right, to just make this a bit easier to understand, 7.3 kg, right? So we know that, first of all, let me put this here. First of all, we need to have a 5 kg, oops, I need a rectangle. So we have a charge of 5 kg, right? So 5 kg, 5 kg, this will become dollars 26, right? So that means how much is left, right? How much is left over here? Okay, make this an arrow instead, right? How much is left is basically, in this case, is, so how much is left is 7.3. Okay, make this, okay, this is already small. 7.3 minus 5, this will give us 2.3 kg, right? Okay, so this is basically what we are left with. So now it says here, okay, I cannot move this thing. Why I cannot move? Oh no. Okay, So you know what? Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this a line instead, right? And then yes, as a text. Okay, great. So left is 7.3 minus 5. We are left with 2.3 kg. That's what you see over here. Okay. So now the thing is that in this case over here, per additional step or 1 kg or part thereof is $8. Okay. So what this means is that every 1 kilogram or less is $8, right? One block of 1 kilogram. So what this means is that if I were to zoom this in, the additional one, let me put a rectangle. Okay, so we have 2.3. If I put in 1 kilogram blocks, okay, it cannot go very low. Okay, let's say this is 1 kilogram, right? And then this is another kilogram, and then there's one more as well, which is this, right? Essentially, we need to put in 3 blocks. Why? It's because in essence, let me put text here. If it's 1 kilogram, right, we still count it as how much is additional? $8, right? So dollars eight. Okay, I'm gonna put this very, very small. Okay, so 1 kilogram is $8. And then after that, 1 kilogram is another $8. Okay, so we minus 2.3 with 1 and 1, and we left with 300 grams. Okay, so the thing is that common mistake that maybe people do is they say, oh, yes, so it's 1 kilogram, so 1000 grams is equal to $8. Then 300 grams is equal to $8 divided by 1000, right? Which is not correct, right? This is wrong. Okay, so in this kind of situations, we don't divide at all, we just minus off accordingly. So what this means is that even if it's less than 1 kilogram, which is the zero point 0.3 kilograms, we still are charged with $8 as well. Okay, so that means we need to get a total, which is basically 26 plus 8 times 3. Okay, and this, well, if I were to just put the total like this, so 26 plus, so 8 times 3 will be 24, and if you total them up, this will become dollars 50. Okay, so where is dollars 50? Option number 3. That's what we see over here. Okay, and the answer is 3. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense, because yeah, it's always like this, all right? So if post 5 kg or less, but more than 3 kg, we start $26. And then per additional 1 kg block, we'll have this as well, right? So if this is, for example, 3.3, then that means, right, if I were to move this down here, it will be like this. Okay, 3 kilograms, right? So every kilogram is additional kilogram, right? Is 1 kilogram, 1 kilogram, and then less than 1 kilogram is $8, and then we have to add it up. Okay, so that is how usually this works, even in real world as well. All right, so hopefully this makes sense, and let's move on to the next question. Question number 5. Okay, so the figure below is made out of 20 identical squares. What percentage of the figure is shaded? All right. So one thing is we can luckily don't have to calculate the number of identical squares. So even though if you don't know, you can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you times 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 20. Okay, great. So now we want to know what's the shaded. All right. So in essence, in this, right, over here, if I were to just highlight this rectangle, let me put this in red. What this means is basically half, right? So one half. Okay, so in essence this is half, right? This is half, and then we have this as well. Let me put in a different color, so the less is blue. So this one will be, you guessed it, it's not half also, it's 1.5. Okay, and then lastly we'll go to the last one, which is this. Let me put a different color, yellow. Okay, and this is how many squares? 4, right? So it's just 4. Okay, 4. Okay, so that means we just add them all up. So essentially, the answer to this will be 4.5. So I'm gonna represent half as, let's say, I'm just gonna put this half. Okay, equal to 0.5. Okay, so because it's much simpler that way. So let's calculate together, which is basically we know that in this case the total squares, okay, and then that's the denominator, and then this is total shaded squares, right? So I'm gonna put this as in the middle, and then put a line. Oops, put the line over here. So total shaded squares out of total squares, okay, and this will be equal to. Okay, I'm gonna put on left. Okay, so in this case, just put this group, and then let's do this. So total squares, we know that it is 20. And then total shaded squares, basically we just add all of these up, right? So this is 4 plus 1.5 plus 0.5. Okay, so essentially this half, okay, is the same as, I'm gonna put this here, 0.5, and this is 1.5 is 1.5. Okay, whoop, all right. Then, okay, so I can just remove this first, right? So now we know this is the way. Then, oh, we need to put it as percentage. Great, forgot about that, but it's good to put into fractions first. Okay, and this will equal to, so 4 plus 1.5 plus 5 equal to 6. Oops, 6 out of 20. So if you want to simplify this, oops, okay, let me just ungroup this, right? Let's just make this smaller. That's what I see over here. Okay, 6 out of 20. And basically, this will give us equal to, if we simplify this, all right? So basically, we can have divide by 2, right? In this case, for both cases here. So divide by 2. And now this whole thing will become 3 out of 10, right? So that's the shaded, let me just write here, shaded fraction. Okay, so at the same time, we also can say shaded percentage lah, right? So I'm just gonna add that up. Okay, so shaded percentage is equal to total shaded um, equal to total squares, and then you in a way multiply by 100. Okay, 100. Okay, so we just multiply by 100, multiply by 100. So we have this, right? 3 out of 10 multiply by 100. Okay, technically we don't need to divide by 2. Instead, we can actually times 2 instead, right? Times 2, times 2, right? So this will then become, instead of 6 out of 20, sorry, we don't times 2, right? Essentially, we want to multiply the denominator to 100. So let me times 5, and this will times 5. Okay, sorry, not times 2. Okay, and this case over here, this will give us, so 6 times 5 will be 30, and 20 will give us 100, and times 100, this will give us, in essence, 30%. Okay, 30%. There you go. Right, so the answer to this is 30%. All right. Okay, very good. Let's move on to the next question. Question 6. All right, question 6 says Carol bought a dress which includes a GST of 9%. The price of the dress before GST, right? Before GST, right, was $70. How much did Carol pay for the dress? Okay, so let's write this down. So price of dress, right, before GST is equal to $70. Okay, so we want to get the GST pricing 9%. So 9% GST is equal to how much, right? Of dress as well. Of dress, not dress, dress. Okay, is equal to, let me just put it down, which is 70 times. Okay, then I'm gonna put the fraction as well. So 9 out of 100. Okay, so oops. Okay, so 30 is instead Okay. And then we change this to 9. Okay. 9% of the rest is 70 times 9 of 100. So what we can do is we can cancel this 100 and cancel this to 7. All right. So then this will essentially become, if I were to, duplicate this, right? So essentially this will be just 7 times 9 out of 10. Okay. And then this will then become, so what is 7 times 9? It's basically 63, right? So 63 out of 10. And this will then give us equal to 63 divided by 10. This will give $6.30. That's what I see over here. There you go, right? Okay, so now we know all of this. The next part is, what is the price after GST? So you can say price or dress after GST, right? Which is basically equal to $70. Oops. 70 plus 6.30, and this will give us $76.30. That's it. Okay, so that's the answer. The answer is 76.30 in this case over here. All right, let's move on to the next question. Question number 7. Okay, says here, Mr. Lee had $4,500 in his bank account. The bank paid 3% interest at the end of each year. How much interest did he earn at the end of 1 year? Right, this Mr. Lee is very rich. Okay, so let's write down. So in the bank, there is, okay, 4,000, oops, 4,500. Okay, and the interest is 3%. Okay, so we want to know what's the interest from this 4,500. Okay, I was just here, not bank lah. Mr. Lim has 4,500. Interest rate is 3%. So what we can do is we can calculate the interest from Mr. Lim for Mr. Lim, which is equal to, in this case, 4,500 times, and then we have the fraction 3 out of 100. Okay, I'm going to put a line over here. So 3 out of 100. So we can cancel the 100, okay, and also the 2 zeros in the 4,500 in this case. And this will give us 45 times 3. Okay, what would this give us essentially? So this will, if you use mental calculation, is $135. Okay, so if I were to do the workings, it will look like this, right? So make sure 5 times 3 is 15, 5, 1 here. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So $135. Okay, so now we know the interest from Mr. Lim. Then the next thing is, let me just make this a little bit nicer. So what's the, how much interest did he earn at the end of 1 year? There you go, interest from Mr. Lim for 1 year. Okay, and the answer is $135. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question number 8. Okay, so the table below shows the number of muffins sold from Monday to Friday. Find the average number of muffins sold on each day. So average is basically total, right? Divide by number of something, right? Things. Okay, so what's the total here? So total is equal to, we need to add all of them up, right? So Monday is 0, so 0 plus, okay, let's see, total is 0 plus 42 plus 70 plus 38 plus 50. Okay, so we need to add all this up. So I'm just going to change their position so it's easier. So 42, we can remove the 0, plus 38 plus 70 plus 50. Okay, so 42 plus 38 is 80 plus 150, and this will give us 230 for this total. Okay, so 242 plus 38 plus 70 plus 50. Let me double check on this. 42 plus 38, 80, 100, no, 150. Sorry, it's 120, right? Okay, so that's why. Double check, right? 70 plus 50. I was testing you guys, right? It's 120. So this will become 200. Okay, so what's the number of, in this case, number of days, right? So number of days is equal to 5. So the average will be equal to 200, right? Divided by 5. And this will give us 40. So the number, so maybe common mistake is, or mistake that you might do is you actually put 4 instead of 5 because you might think, oh, Monday is 0, so no need to count. But we still need to count because it's on each day, right? Okay, so the answer to this question is 40. There you go. All right, 40 donuts or muffins. Okay, I was thinking about donuts. Okay, next question. Question 9. So the usual price of a dining table was $950. During a sale, all items were sold at 20% discount. What's the price of the dining table after the discount? Okay, so what we can do is, so I'll just say table is equal to dollars 950. Okay, and I will say the table percentage after 20% discount is equal to 100 minus 20, which is 80%. Okay, so now we know this 100. Okay, so now we just want to get the price after discount. So table price after 20% discount is equal to $950. We want to multiply it by 80%, right? So it's just 80 out of 100. Okay, so now we just need to simplify this as much as possible. So 80 out of 100. So it's essentially usually just 8 out of 10. Okay, so in this case, oops, let me just zoom this in, right? So 8 out of 10, and then we can also cancel another one, right? Cancel this. I'm gonna make it red so it's easier to see, like this, right? So now we need to calculate what is basically, let me just remove the dollar so at least, okay, let's not remove it. So $95 times 8. Okay, so let's do our workings. All right, so you have 95 times 8, it becomes $760. So 5 times 8 will become 40. So we put 4 on top of 9. So 9 times 8 will be 72 plus 4 is 76. So the answer to this is $760. And there you go, that's the answer. Okay, $760. Alrighty. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question number 10. So question 10 says, Mr. Lim bakes 6 cupcakes every 10 minutes. After this rate, how many cupcakes could she bake in 2 hours? All right. So we know that in a way we need to convert 2 hours. How many minutes? Okay. So we know that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. That means 2 hours is equal to 2 times 60, which is 120 minutes. Right. So we also know that 10 minutes gives us 6 cupcakes. So we want to go 120 minutes, which is basically 10 times 12, right? So that means 12 times 6. Okay. You should know your 12 timetable. They should give you 72 cupcakes. There you go. So that's the answer, 72 cupcakes. All right. Very good. Pretty straightforward. Let me make this medium. This is a bit small as well. Okay. So let me. All right. A little apologies, but yeah, the answer is 72 cupcakes. All right. There you go. 72. All right, let's move on to question 11. So, question 11 says a box of 20 identical tennis balls has a mass of 1.58 kg. The empty box has a mass of 420 grams. Find the mass of each tennis ball in the kilograms. Okay, so we have a box and 20 identical tennis balls, and then we have an empty box as well. So, we want to convert the kilograms into grams. Let's see. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to convert the empty box into kilograms. Okay, so basically 420 grams. So we know that, okay, to just recap, 1 kilogram is equal to 1000 gram. So what is, so 1000 gram is equal to 1 kilogram, not 100, 1000 gram. Then 1 gram is equal to 1, then divided by 1000 grams. Okay, so 0.001 kilograms. It's not 1000 gram, 1 divided by 1000. Okay, so this is essentially how you convert grams to kilograms. So in this case, we just want to change this 420 grams equal to 420. Then we divide it by 1000. Okay, so to just give you a recap on this, you have a decimal point, and then you count the number of zeros. So 1, 2, 3. So that means we move this decimal point to 3 decimal place. That's what you see over here, right? So if I were to draw this out, so this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So we're going to move this decimal point to here. Okay, so in this case, the answer to this is 0.420, or you can remove the 0 kilograms in this case over here. Okay, so now the next part is, okay, so now the next part is we have 20 balls. So we need to minus off 0.42 kg because this is the, in this case, the empty box. So we want to minus off so you can get the 20 identical balls. So 20 balls is equal to 1.5 kg, 1.58 kg minus 0.42. So I'm going to share the workings and share you the answer. Okay, so the answer over here is 1.16, right? So in this case, it's 8 minus 2 is equal to 6, 5 minus 4 is equal to 1, and 1 minus 0 is 1. Okay, so now the answer for 20 balls is equal to 1.16 kilogram. Okay, so now we just want to have one ball, which is equal to 1, 1.16, and then we divide it by 20, right? So I'm going to share with you the what do you call this, the workings on this division, right? But before that, I'm going to also share with you on how to make this a little bit easier for you to do. So this is divide as well. Okay, so in this case, you divide, okay, by 10. So we want to calculate this 1.16 divided by 2, and then we can divide it by 10. It will also give us the same answer. All right, so 1.16 divided by 2, it gives us 0.58, right? Why? Because we have 1, we cannot minus 2, we just minus 10 or 1.0. So make sure you have 0 point as well. And then after that, this will bring us 16, right? So 16 minus 16, which is 8. And then that is where the answer is 0.58. Okay, so in this case, one ball, it's not 0.58, so always double check your workings, 0.58. But that is only divided by 2. So we also need to divide by 10. So that means it's 0.058 kg. So the answer to one ball is, in this case, 0.058 kg. In this case over here. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question 12. Okay, question 12. It says here, a machine at a factory fills equal number of bottles with chili every minute. The line graph shows the number of bottles filled with chili over 5 minutes. Okay, so how many bottles of chili does the machine fill in 3 minutes? So what we want to do is we want to highlight number 3. Okay, and then we will have a line. Let me use the red line to point to the point at number 3 over here. And then we can also point to the what do you call this, the graph over here. Okay, so it's a bit hard to see because it's a bit like not really showing properly, but in essence, there's actually 5 lines in between. So 1, okay, oops, we have 2, right? We have 3, oops, again 3, right? And then 4, okay, 4 lines in between, or basically 5 gaps in between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so essentially in this case over here, let me just duplicate this, go to the bottom. So we actually have 5 gaps between 0 and 10. Okay, so in essence, so from 0 to 10 there will be 5 gaps. Okay, so now 5 gaps is from 0 to 10, that is basically 10. So one gap is equal to 10 divided by 5, which is 2, right? So 1 point is basically 2. So if I were to put here 2, okay, I just put here 2, right? 2, and then 4, then this is 6, and then this is 8, and lastly we have 10. Okay, so each point over here is 2. So now if we were to go to our point that we want, this point will be, it will say here 22, and the point that we want is 20, oops, 20, 20, 20, 24 over here. Okay, so that means how many bottles does the machine fill in 3 minutes? It's basically 24, okay, from the graph itself. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, question 12. At this rate, how much will the machine take to fill 184 bottles? Okay, so we actually can get the we can solve by just having the answer from question part A. So that means in this case 24 bottles is going to be filled in 3 minutes. Okay, right? Then how much? 184, okay, bottles. Okay, so what we can do is, why we can do this, because in the question it says here that it fills equal number of bottle with chili every minute. So if I were to go to every single minute over here, right? So in this case, right, 1 minute over here, oops, yes, so 1 minute over here, okay, let me just push this down. 1 minute over here, if I were to get another line, it will give us, can you guess, 8, right, over here. So this 8 1 will give us 8, right? Then 3 will give us 24, right? This 24. Then what do you think 2 will give us in this case over here, right? So 2 will actually give us, if you guess 16, you're right. Okay. So if I were to just duplicate this and move this over here, right? So 10, right? Then this is 12. Okay. And then this is 14. And this is 16 over here. Okay. 16. So that means this part is 16. Right? It's 16 24. So in this case, 24 bottles is 3 minutes. So in a way, how many bottles will give us 1 minute? So I think you know, right? 8 bottles is equal to, in this case, 1 minute, right? So then how much do we multiply to get 184? So in this case, we need to do a division. So we need to have 184 divided by 8. Okay. So I will say minutes to fill 184 bottles is equal to 184, and then divide by 8. Okay, let's do the division. All right, so this is the workings for the division. So you have 184. So you cannot have 1 minus 8. So you go for the next digit, which is 18. So that means we go to the second number, second digit. Okay, then we just minus 16, which is 8 times 2. And this will give us 2. So we cannot have 2 minus 8. So we bring the next number down. This will give us 24. We minus 24. So it's basically 24 is 3 times 8. So the answer to this is 184 divided by 8 is 23 in this case over here. So the answer to this is 23. All right. Okay, let's move on to the last question. All right, question 13. It says here the total cost of a bag and a watch and a jacket is $332. The watch costs $13.60 less than the jacket, and the watch costs thrice or 3 times as much as the bag. What's the cost of the jacket? Okay, so we're going to draw models. So we're going to have a bag, bag, a watch, and a jacket. Okay, let me just do this. Okay, so we have all of this. So next thing is we're gonna draw the models. Okay, so usually what I like to do is I like to go backwards in terms of this. So the watch cost three, not backwards, but basically I want to start from when it says as much as. Okay, in this case over here, as much as. So the watch costs three times as much as the bag. Okay, so that means the bag is 1 unit, right? And then for the watch, it's 3 units. Watch is 3 units. Okay, so now once you are done with this part, the next part is we then go here. The watch costs $13.60 less than the jacket. Okay, so if I were to write this down, watch, right, is equal to jacket minus how much is it? $13.60. So that means jacket is equal to watch plus $13.60. So that's what we're gonna do. So 1 unit, same, but this time we have $13.60 more. Dollars 13.60 more, right? Oops. $13. Oops. Okay, actually you can draw a model here. So just a dollars 13.60. Okay. Like this. So jacket has more than the watch. Okay. And then last one. It says here the total is $332 for all of the items, right? The bag, the watch, and the jacket. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna write this down as a 300. Whoops. So this will be dollars 332.10. Okay. So with this, can we solve the question? Yes, we can, right? So if we were to remove 13.6 in this case, we can get all of the units, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. So what I'm going to write down is 7 units is equal to basically 332.10 minus 13.60. All right, let's do the workings for this. All right, so let's do the working for this. Okay, so it's 332.10 minus 13.60. So 0 minus 0 is 0. Okay, next one is 1 minus 6. You can't. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 1 from number 2 as such over here. So we're going to cross this 2 and this will also become 1. That's what I see over here. Okay, so 11 minus 6, this will become 5. Then we put a dot. So we cannot have 1 minus 3, so we need to cancel 3 as well. So I'm going to put cancel. Then this will become 11. And then the 3 will become number 2. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. So 11 minus 6, 11 minus 3, this will give us 8. And then 2 minus 1 will give us 1. And then 3 minus nothing is just 3. So the answer is $318.50. Okay, so 318.50. Okay, so now what's the cost of the jacket? So we want to get 1 unit, right? So 1 unit will be equal to 318.50, and then we divide by 7. Okay, so let's do the workings for this. All right, so 318.5 divided by 7 is $45.50. So how we do that is basically 318.5 divided by 7. So we cannot minus 3 with 7, so we bring the next number, which is 31. So 7 multiple that's close to 31 is 28, which is basically 4 times 7. And then this gives you 31 minus 28 is 3. So we cannot have 3 minus 7. So we bring down the next number, which is 38. So 38 minus 35, which is basically 7 times 5, which is 35. And then 38 minus 35 is 3. We cannot have 3 minus 7 again, so we bring down the 5. So 3.5 or 35 minus 35 as well. So it's basically decimal 5. Okay, so the answer is $45.50. Okay, so the next thing is I'm gonna have the jacket. So if you were to go and see the model, so jacket has 3 units plus $13.60. So this will equal to 3 units plus 13.60. So 3 units 3 times, so it's 3 times 45.50 plus 13.60. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the workings for 45.5 times 3. So 5 times 3 will be 15. Put 1 at the top over here. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1, 16. So 6. Put 1 on top. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 will be 13. So $136. So 136.50 plus 13.6. Okay, so let's do the workings for this. So 136.50, and then we have plus 13.60. 136, okay, and then let's put a line over here as well, right? Okay, so now with this 0, right? So I'm gonna take this one, put this one over here. So 5 plus 6 is equal to 11. I'm going to put a 1 here. So this is 1 dot. 6 plus 3 is 9 plus 1. This will be 10. So we put a 0. And then we're going to put another 1 here. 3 plus 1 is equal to 5. And then 1 plus 0 is just 0 lah. Okay, whoops. So the final answer to the jacket is $150.10. And that's it. So the answer to this question is $150.10. So I see over here. There you go. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want more of this kind of video, subscribe down below and comment down what other things you want me to go through next. See you in the next one. Bye bye.